How's it going, my dudes? This video's brought to you by Squarespace today.
We all remember those epic and excellent exits in Star Trek. You know, the big ones, none of which I'll be discussing on this. This is those exits where we went, oh really? That's it? Oh, for God's sake. So, with both and a sense of good fun, I'm Sean Ferry for TrekCulture, and here are 10 Star Trek villains with lame deaths. Number 10, Shinzon. There is, and has been, plenty said about Star Trek Nemesis on this channel. Tom Hardy's performance as Shinzon is generally one of the brighter spots in the film, with the visuals and music also combining as the film's saving graces. The entire project feels slightly tired, though, with this feeling no more on display than in Shinzon's death. There are a few moments of tussle where he fights with Picard before both men end up alongside the Thalaron generator. Shinzon should be the infinitely better fighter, having been raised in the brutal conditions of the Riemann dilithium mines. Instead, he's skewered by a metal beam that Picard literally rips off the wall. This begs the questions, is Picard now so strong that metal means nothing to him? Or has the metal become so weakened on the scimitar that it's easily breakable? If the latter, then why was it able to penetrate Shinzon's chest? Honestly, at this point of the film, everyone feels like they're ready for things to just end. So you know what? Fair play, Shinzon. Head out in your own terms. Number 9, Gary Mitchell. In the classic second pilot of the original series, the Enterprise comes into contact with the Great Barrier that encircles the Milky Way galaxy. Because of spacey-wacy stuff, two crewmen, Elizabeth Daner and Gary Mitchell, begin to develop godlike powers. Their egos begin to develop almost as dramatically. It's Mitchell who poses the biggest threat in this case, as Daner retains her humanity for longer. As Kirk and the crew are unsure how long they will be able to contain Mitchell, they decide to maroon him on Delta Vega. Unluckily, he twigs to their intentions and flees. Kirk follows with the original series' only functioning phaser rifle, gets into a bout of fisticuffs and shoots Mitchell with everything he has. Nothing is able to defeat the demigod until Kirk drops a rock on him. That's it, a rock. Can't wait to tell my friends. They don't have a rock this big. Mitchell has gone down in Trek history as a cautionary tale about humans developing powers beyond their control, as well as becoming a bit of an in-joke when it comes to forgetting his best friend's middle name. Number 8, the Jurus Sisters. The Jurus Sisters were introduced in The Next Generation, serving as a thorn in both Worf and Captain Picard's sides. Through their dealings with the Romulans, they were able to plunge the Klingon Empire into civil war, though they would ultimately become outcasts. They occasionally turned up on both The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine as time went on, but their appearance in Star Trek Generations spelled the end of the road. Though the scenes immediately preceding and following their deaths are among the film's best, their actual exit was a bit of a dud. Tricking the bird of prey into cloaking, the Enterprise D fired a single torpedo at the older ship. This one detonation was enough to kill the sisters, their entire crew, and apparently any new footage that the audience was hoping to see of the ship exploding. Considering the fact that they were a decently annoying villain in terms of Trek baddies, it was a bit of a shame their grand goodbye is marred by slinking into the shadows of another, stronger death scene in that film. Looking at you, Enterprise D. Number 7, Kelsey. Effectively diehard on the Enterprise, Starship Mine is a fun episode from The Next Generation's 6th season, one that gives Patrick Stewart a then unusual chance to stretch his action hero chops. While the ship is in for a routine cleaning, a group of mercenaries, led by Kelsey, boards in an attempt to steal trilithium. There follow quite a few fun scenes of Picard going toe-to-toe with the baddies, as well as plenty of duplicitous treachery in their own camp. We are also treated to an early appearance of Tim Russ, guesting as one of these people years before he would don his Vulcan ears. The fact that the episode is such a fun romp, with some effective scenery chewing and mustache twirling from guest star Marie Marshall as Kelsey, is what leads to this entry. Kelsey overpowers Picard, looks poised to shoot him, but only spares him so that she can escape. Then her ship explodes, giving this nasty villain an off-screen demise. It was just a shame that we weren't offered a final reaction shot, for in the short time that we had with her, we loathed a lifetime's worth. Number 6, Captain Tim Waters. In the 6th season of Deep Space Nine, the Federation was in an all-out war with the Dominion, with hundreds of ships falling victim to the aggressors as the months drew on. The USS Valiant was an odd case. It had been caught behind enemy lines in the early days of the war and ended up crewed entirely by cadets. Captain Tim Waters, having received a battlefield commission from his dying commander, took over the reins of the ship's mission: find and study a new Dominion battleship, then report home. Though he arguably succeeded in that part of the mission, his inner Ahab came out after Nog and Jake joined the ship. Waters had begun to suffer paranoia-induced headaches, resulting in turning to self-medication. As time went on, his better judgment wore away and his obsession took over all else. Had it stopped there, perhaps he wouldn't have found a place on this list. His order to attack the vastly superior Jem'Hadar battleship was a death sentence for almost all of his crew. When Jake called him out on this, the younger Cesca found himself in the brig. The mission was a disaster, with Waters himself dying mere minutes into the assault. It was entirely avoidable, with the egotistical acting captain allowing his manic obsession to get himself and dozens of others killed. Lame. Number 5. Legot Broka. The ineffectual Trek version of Quisling, Legot Broka headed the Cardassian Union in the final days of the Dominion War. Having said that, headed is not the right word, as he headed nothing. He was, simply put, the token Cardassian in the room. While Damar organized his resistance from the underground, Broka stood in the command center, grinning and nodding, while Weyoun, the Breen Thots, and the female changeling plotted the downfall of the Federation alliance. His singular moment of glory comes when he got to gleefully announce the capture of Damar, which didn't really work out for him. His ignoble death came in the closing minutes of the war. With communications to the fleet restored, Weyoun announced in horror that the Cardassian forces had turned their backs on the Dominion, siding with Starfleet. This led to the decision not just to kill Broka, but for the female changeling to decree the extermination of the entire Cardassian population. Broka, facing the annihilation of his people, was dragged screaming his loyalty to his oppressors, claiming to love nothing more than the Dominion, even as the Jem'Hadar plunged 2 bayonets into his chest. As Weyoun wryly observed, "I won't miss him." Number 4. Cesca. Cesca's death is one of the more frustrating villain exits in Star Trek. Her character appeared to have such potential in the early episodes, then as time went on and she featured less and less, it was clear that they simply had run out of ideas in which to use her. This led to her dull and sudden death in the 3rd season opener of Voyager, Basics Part 2. Having successfully caused a phaser overload, Tom Paris tricks Cesca and the invading Kazon to fire Voyager's weapons. This leads to Cesca's death by power surge, something she apparently couldn't survive, but her infant son could, go figure. Martha Hackett was also less than thrilled with Cesca's exit, feeling it was a waste of potential. Thankfully, Cesca would return twice more, once as a hologram in worst case scenario, and once via timey-wimey nonsense in Shattered. Both times, the character was given a much more interesting role than her original, yet official, demise. Number 3. Leland. Perhaps the worst thing about Leland's death in Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2 is how utterly overshadowed by everything else that's happening all around it is. To be more accurate, Leland himself had died several episodes prior to this, so truly it was Control who got sucked to the floor by Georgiou. While offing Leland control needed to happen, there was still the issue of why any of this was happening. Discovery, having encountered a sphere of ancient origin, absorbed its knowledge. Control would stop at nothing to obtain this knowledge, and therefore they needed to escape into the future. Except for the fact that by the time Discovery entered that wormhole, Leland's fateful fall to his knees had occurred, meaning Control had been shut down. Meaning there was no bloody reason that Discovery needed to go into the future at all. Look, the scene is good fun, not least for Michelle Yeoh's frankly evil little giggle as Leland dies, but the whole thing is marred by the needlessness of it all. Sure, it was a pretty light show, but anyone over the age of 30 will tell you that if you want a pretty light show, simply stand up when you're not expecting it. Sure, it might still feel like you're traveling through time, but you'll still be where you started from once the stars stop spinning. Number 2. Osira. Discovery's 3rd season finale, That Hope Is You Part 2, sees the culmination of the Emerald Chain story arc, with Osira having taken command of the ship. She engages in a brutal fight with Burnham, both of whom are armed and skilled, which takes them to the computer core itself. To be fair, the scene leading up to her death is fine. There is some back and forth, and she manages to shove Burnham into a wall of programmable matter. Then, falling to the fate of so many clueless baddies, she turns her back and doesn't bother to double-check Burnham's fate. Cue Burnham shooting her in the head. There's barely even a delay, there's no warning. It's effectively an execution, with Osira on the wrong end of the phaser. While the Emerald Chain were never the strongest villains in Trek's history, Discovery did tease a great face-off between Osira and Vance. There, but for the grace of Burnham's phaser, we could have seen a great final battle. Instead, we get this, and poor Osira gets a death that no one will remember in years to come. Number 1. Narissa was given a bit of a tough task in the 1st season of Star Trek Picard. Between Narissa and Harry Treaderay's Narek, the evil duo was needed. They would seek to destabilize any peace talks between the Romulan Free State and the Federation, and also guard against synth life. And also serve as Star Trek's answer to Jaime and Cersei Lannister, though thankfully this was more implied than explicitly shown. Narissa, for all her evil, quickly became a forgettable villain. Her standout moments including killing Hugh, damn you, and then falling to her death. The latter, seemingly final, moment comes at the end of 7 of 9's boot. boot. However, Narissa had shown herself to be in possession of personal transporters before, so there is a chance that this wasn't her final fate. With Picard now having come to the end of its run, it's unlikely that audiences will see Narissa again, so if that truly was her final fall, it was a bit of a damp squib of an ending. This is even more of a shame as, with the reveal of the admonition, at least there was some character growth toward the end of her season. Wait, no, hang on, yeah, no, it's gone.
Hi, I'm Duncan Rillick, no relation, and I'm GTN's new progenitor expert. And I collect relics from before the burn. And I'm here to tell you about Squarespace. Using their next generation fluid engine, I created a website that isn't crud. They even have templates, and using them is as smooth as a progenitor's head. Creating an online store was a doddle. You can even create your own merch with Squarespace. They'll handle production, inventory, and super fast pathway shipping. So here's your red directive. Go to https://www.squarespace.com/TrekCulture for a free trial and 10% off your first website or domain purchase. I've been Duncan Rillick, no relation.
That's everything for our list today, folks. If you think I was too harsh, you let me know in the comments. If you think I wasn't harsh enough, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching along. You are awesome. You are wonderful. Make sure you're following us over on Twitter at TrekCulture. We're on Instagram at TrekCultureYT. We're also on Blue Sky and TikTok at TrekCulture as well. Look after yourself till I'm talking to you again. You are beautiful, great, and stunning. So why don't you put some of that beauty and loveliness out into the world? Lead with love, live long and prosper, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks very much.